Hey, good morning, good afternoon. I'm David Solomon. In addition to being the Director of Research and Creative Activity at Christopher Newport University in Virginia, I'm the current chair of the Undergraduate Research Programs Division of CUR. And I want to welcome you to the third Undergraduate Research Programs Exchange. These 50-minute Zoom sessions are monthly facilitated exchanges of ideas and information on a variety of topics and issues related to undergraduate research programs. Sessions are recorded and made available in the CUR community and the CUR URPD website. These exchanges are not designed to be formal presentations, but instead begin with very brief introductions by facilitators and then open up for general discussion. Today's session addresses best practices in undergraduate research websites. Beginning last year, the URP sponsored a website competition. This year's competition was announced last week on the CUR community and will go live on the URP website tomorrow. We're fortunate to have representative colleagues of last year's winning institutions facilitate this session. I'll ask them to introduce themselves now, and then I'll turn the screen over to each of them briefly to talk about their individual website, and then we'll have plenty of time for questions and discussion. So the winner of the comprehensive university category was High Point University, and Joanne Altman is here today. And Joanne, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself and go right into your website.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm the founding director of undergraduate research and creative works at High Point University. I've been here about 14 years now, or starting my 14th year. By training, I'm a psychologist and animal behaviorist. And so when I started, there was nothing, and including no web page. I do want to start with this. Let me share. And then, so we were asked, see if I can talk and share at the same time. All right, you see it?
Yes.
All right, so we were asked to talk about who our audience was, what our layout was, how we opted to navigate it, and some challenges. But in an earlier conversation last week with David, something came up that I realized I should say right out first, because it's going to inform or be the lens in which you're going to be able to consider everything I've done. I have the power to change my website. I add things, move things, change things on a regular basis. Not everybody does. And so my website is very dynamic, but if you don't have that power, it's much harder to make a dynamic website. And so I'd kind of encourage putting your basic stuff on, putting a link someplace and sending them somewhere else. All right. So my university's superpower is branding. And as a result, all you get when you first come on our pages is this very big thing that just says High Point University and all of this other stuff that we're required to put on. And it can be kind of confusing. So I designed my page to have everything that I wanted in front of everybody in one place in the middle. So people find that, and then they're not distracted by all of that other stuff that I'm required to put in. And so these are our most important activities. We have a freshman program called Research Rookies. We have 3 summer research programs. High Perks is our yearly conference. I have a registry for students to indicate they're doing research, and also one for that they have showcased their research somewhere. For those of you who are familiar, we use Forager One. We do have $100,000 to send students to conferences with their mentors, and that comes under funding. We have a monthly newsletter, hence my regular use of the website. We have a yearly journal that we published. We are an enhanced member of CUR, so all of our students and faculty have access to membership, so I try to promote that, and that's there. We have information just for faculty, and then of course, important dates. What's not under my, and I did post our award, although I made a mistake, and this is going to be one of our challenges that I'm going to talk about. This image is supposed to be here, and this image is supposed to be here. My university does this part. I can't take much credit for it, but we do key in all those things that they announce that happen to be undergraduate research. So my audience is the totally uninitiated. Know nothing about our site, nothing about our page, because if you know something, too much information is not a problem, but if you know nothing, you don't know what to look for. So we land with everything we want up front. And when we first started, it was just links, and people don't know that links are important. And so we added all our pictures so to draw people's eye to this. And so that's our layout as well. We navigate from this to all the details of each of these. So for instance, funding will take you to a description of our different funding options. I very much believe in nesting, which can be a pain in the butt because, you know, you have to click and then you have to click. But if you put too much information out there up front, again, this has to carry all of the information about our grants. So now when you click on apply here, you're going to get a page of detail. But if we have everything all at once, it can get very confusing, and you have people drill down simply when they're interested. The challenge is, oh, I was going to go back. For me, one is, I mentioned working with the university and trying to find a space where my undergraduate research pops out against a backdrop of everything other High Point. It used to be that you'd have an apply here, a student thought they were applying for a grant, and they're actually getting the application for the university. At one point, I have lots of forms on here, and I was using WordPress, and I had all my forms on it. And then I found out I didn't always have control. So the university would suddenly say, sorry, we're going offline for fixing. And I had my forms for my conference, and they were going to make them inaccessible. And so we had outages, we lost access sometimes. This is how I gained permanent access. I had so much that I was always doing that when they took access away, they said, just let us know and we'll add it for you. And after about the third time in a week, they said, okay, we're giving you your access back. But the activity on the website also got too heavy, and so the forms didn't work well. So last summer, I took all of my forms off of the web page and put them into, it used to be Qualtrics, now we use Airtable, and just link the forms in, which also gives me a lot more availability of changing information on my forms on a daily basis. And even if you do have access, like I have access, I don't have any skill. What I do is I copy and paste. If I see something that I know will work, I will use it and just change some of the information, and the basic background code is the same. But every once in a while, when there's something I don't know how to do, I will reach out to my web people and ask them to do it for me. So for instance, I showed you, I made a mistake. These two pictures should be reversed. For the life of me, can't seem to do that. And so I have reached out. And so I would recommend to everybody to get to know your web people and to be very, very kind to your web people, because they're going to be the ones that really do help you most. Okay, I didn't want to take up too much time, so
Yeah, that's great.
I'll
Thank
stop
you.
there.
Yeah, so we'll come back to you for questions and discussion. Next up is going to be Marie Sheneman. Marie's
Can
with the
I?
University of California, San Diego, and they were awarded our award for R1, R2 institutions.
David, I apologize. Can I go third? Because our fire alarm is currently being
Oh,
tested.
sure. Yes. Fire alarm, birds on the screen. You got it all going on over there. All right, so we're going to go to Shaun. Shaun, is it Eli or Elie, Shaun?
Eli.
Elie is at Florida Atlantic, and Florida Atlantic was awarded the best site for a minority representing institution. I'll turn it over to Shaun.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on your time zone. My name is Shaun Elie, and I serve as one of the program coordinators here in our Office of Undergraduate Research. I do all of our marketing and outreach, and also our website as well. So I'll share my screen here. Okay. So this was, I would say, the summer of 2022. Our university was in the process of migrating a lot of the old websites onto the new template. And so this is kind of how this came about. And so I was entrusted with kind of just figuring out where everything would go and how we would kind of just migrate over to the new website, over to the new template. And so as far as our audience, we basically kind of just broke it up into prospective researchers who know nothing about research, students who are currently in research and are looking for programs and opportunities to apply to, and then obviously a section for faculty, PIs, administrators, and things of that sort, and an about section. And so just so I can kind of walk you through, so the main page, we kind of just have a general sort of blurb about our office and some of the things that we do. And then when you scroll down a little bit further, we have our carousel here that just showcases some of our students winning awards. So our office is connected with our prestigious fellowships office, which is going to be things like Goldwater, Udall, McKnight, some of those sort of awards and fellowships. And so we highlight those students here as well. We also have our Undergraduate Researcher of the Year, which is one of our programs that we do every year. So we highlight those students here as well. Our Distinguished Mentor of the Year, which is a faculty research mentor, and also student spotlights that we do. Typically every month we try to do at least a highlight focusing on each student. And then at the bottom we have an event section. This is typically where we'll put our undergraduate research symposium, our summer research fellow showcase, and other events that we have upcoming. And so I guess I can just start from prospective researchers. So for students who don't know anything about research but have heard about it, want to learn more, we kind of talk about, what research is, why you want to get involved, and then also an external link just to kind of show them some of the skills and things that can come with being a part of research. And then we have our How to Get Started page, where we basically step-by-step provide students with everything that they need in terms of getting involved in research, resources, things that they can do themselves, and also encourage them to come into our office and make an appointment to learn more and meet with one of us. And so a lot more external links here. And as far as the current researchers, we've also got presentation and publication opportunities, so both internal and external. And so I guess kind of sort of the nesting idea that Joanne talked about, which is basically to kind of just have it broken up into different sections, funding, course credit opportunities, whatever the student may be looking for, and then provide those external links for them to kind of go and learn more. And so we basically just use a lot of some of the best images from all of our programs, like symposium and traveling to conferences and things of that sort, just to kind of highlight some of these pages. And we also have our menu here over on the left-hand side that people can navigate just to try to kind of sort of make things a little bit easier. And then our faculty page, basically we have this diagram here, which is our flight plan for faculty that are interested in research, kind of just showing piece by piece what a low level involvement looks like, medium, all the way up to high, depending on how much time they may have and how involved they want to be in research. And then we have our about page, which is basically our team, our vision, and then our peer mentors and some of the other people that support us around the university. So that is our website.
Shaun, I'm just going to ask you a question before we move on here, just to keep it consistent. So Joanne said she has total control over her site. Is that the same for you?
Yes, thank you for reminding me. Yes, so we do have control over our site. We do have a content management system, which makes it easier. So we can change links, images, documents, all of that. The only challenge that I would say, well, I mean, I guess kind of a challenge is that some things, there's some back-end code on certain things that is a little bit beyond my level of expertise, but we do have a very great information technology office that you just submit a ticket and they usually get to it very quickly, especially if it's something that you can choose the priority and say that, hey, this is something that I really need done pretty soon. They're very good about getting it done. Even sometimes same day they can have it done.
Right. Thank you very much. Okay, Marie, if your pants aren't on fire or the building isn't on fire, everything
Yeah, I'm
okay?
good now.
Seriously?
Yeah. They're
Okay.
it was testing, so.
All right. So Marie is at UC San Diego, and they were awarded our R1 prize for best website.
Thank you. Okay, so I will just to provide a little clarity. I am currently in the Department of Psychology. I was in Undergraduate Research Hub at UC San Diego when I nominated our website. I was pretty much the person managing the website with a little help from other people. But that is why I'm speaking today, because I was heavily involved when all this occurred, and I am joined by a couple colleagues who are still in the Undergraduate Research Hub, Dr. Sophia Tsai, Assistant Director of URH, and Dr. David Artis, Director of URH, who might want to chime in later during Q&A. So I will go through. So our website, over the last couple years, went through a decent revamp for a couple reasons. One was updating the website, updating the information, and we changed our name. So we used to be Academic Enrichment Programs, and over the last couple of years, we became Undergraduate Research Hub, which really made us the hub for undergraduate research by changing that name. And so a lot of stuff that got added to the website was really about providing support to the whole community and being a central place for students. So a couple of things that I thought about when I was thinking about how the website is designed. And what I really wanted to focus on when I was working on the website was transparency. We had a lot of information that was not on the website, and I wanted to really bring transparency to students and mentors. Comprehensive, that kind of relates, but again, there wasn't really much information. There was information, but some of it wasn't as comprehensive as it could have been. And along with that was consistency. So we might have a very thorough page about our McNair program, but then we didn't really have as thorough of a page about one of our other programs called maybe Faculty Mentor Program. So we really wanted to focus on being more transparent, comprehensive, and consistent across different pages so that the information was equal for each thing. With our navigation, we have I would say fortunately, as I was looking at the other websites, we don't have something at the top that says like apply to UC San Diego. And I think that's really nice because it doesn't confuse students on what they're clicking on. But so we have these tabs at top, and this goes into our organization, our navigation, but also a limit. We are kind of limited by these. We don't, not the categories themselves, but the number. If we were to add more tabs, things would kind of disappear. Like we're just limited by space on tabs, and there's no nesting within the tabs that you might see at other universities that have other like click 5 more things would pop up after this thing. Those are things that we would like, but we are limited by the CMS. But so for navigation, we have students. This is for current students doing research as well as students looking to get started in research. And these topics come about as things that are most important to students, such as getting started, how to pick a research topic, frequently asked questions. But some of them have also come about what comes up a lot in discussions with students. And so how to find a research method, how do I get letter recommendations? Those might not be something that would be typically on like the first drop down, but in our conversations with students, those are like really come up quite frequently. And so we felt that it was really useful to have them be visible for students to see and just easily to find when we're meeting with students or when they're looking at the website on their own. Then we have our programs tab. One thing at UC San Diego is we have a very robust population of programs, formal programs that students can join. There are academic year programs, summer programs. These first couple of things are our programs through the Undergraduate Research Hub. And then there are a number of other programs across campus that are not owned or managed by the Undergraduate Research Hub. And so that is this last thing here. Then we have all our conferences and other information about conferences, external conferences, conference funding. Well, another thing that we do through our office, which is not necessarily the same as other offices, is a lot of prestigious scholarship advising. So we do have a tab on different prestigious scholarships that are offered across the country. Research mentors, this is an area for the faculty and mentors, and then alumni, and our Give Now button to help support. So that's the basic navigation of our website. And the navigation is really kind of built based on our audience. So we see our students as an audience, our current students, our future students. Mentors are part of the audience, faculty or staff are part of the audience, and staff could be an advisor in psychology who's helping someone get involved in research, or a mentor in a resource center who's helping someone get involved in research. We want them to be able to navigate the website, find information to help their students, as well as the faculty within the Undergraduate Research Hub. When I was working there, the website was such a go-to resource. If I had a question about what's our policy on this, or what is the deadline for this, I didn't have to ask my colleagues. I could just go straight to our website because the website had all that information there. With the challenges, keeping it up to date is always a challenge. There's only so many man hours in the day and manpower, and things are always changing. Programs are always changing. Dates, deadlines are always changing. And then, as I said, there are some limits we have with regards to the CMS, that we can't design things maybe as exact as we would like. But the URH, the Undergraduate Research Hub, as the other winners, they do have full control over the website. And so that does make it a lot easier to quickly change a date, add a photo as we wish. And I do want to just share a couple things that are unique and exciting. We have this Airtable, if it populates, of all the programs on campus. So right now it has 52 records. So those are 52 programs known to be on campus. And this is a great resource for students to help navigate what programs they are qualified for, depending on their major, their year, their citizenship. And another thing I wanted to highlight to emphasize the audience being not just about students, but about other partners on campus, is we have a form where partners can submit to be on our newsletter because they might have a workshop or a program or a conference, a request for a presentation. Other people on campus want us to give presentations on the programs or different things that we are resident experts about. And same with our events and programs calendar, which is managed by Talkify. External partners on campus can submit an event if they have a workshop or something that our students might be interested in that we're not managing, but is still relevant to undergraduate research. So I will end there, David.
Marie, were all of those, the screen you were on a second ago, the last screen, if you can go back one. So what platform are you using that populates that box?
This is Airtable, and so
Okay.
it's just an embedded version. The version we have right now is free because we don't use enough of the options to have to pay for it, so that's nice. And then it's just embedded into the website, and I like this because it's easy to update. When you update it in the Airtable, it auto updates on the website because it's essentially a live feed. And there's no like coding to deal with. It's just the embed code, but I don't have to navigate through hundreds of lines of codes to update a piece of information. It did take a couple seconds to load. That's like the most negative thing, but otherwise, I find it very useful. I think someone else had a similar website or similar table, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Let's do that. And we actually have a couple different Airtables on our website for different resources. Yeah.
Okay,
So I highly encourage people to check it out.
Yeah. So I think the interesting thing about all three of the winners is, and I mean, we didn't know this when we chose them, and I didn't know this until 10 minutes ago, that they all have total control over their sites. I know for a lot of us, I don't. Any changes I want to make, I have to submit to the office, and the grand poobahs make the decision about doing the edits and posting it. So I'm curious what other folks are thinking and what your questions are and what your comments. So Carrie asks, has either of you run into any accessibility issues with Airtable? And they're saying no. I mean, that was one of my questions that I wrote down is we are now very keenly aware / concerned at our institution with ADA accessibility issues when it comes to the web. Have any of the three of you run into that? Do you really take that into consideration? Is somebody vetting it? Anyone can respond.
In general,
Yeah.
I'll comment. I know that the URH at UC San Diego takes that into consideration as working on the website. But there's a lot that can go unchecked. So there's a lot of like rules that we're supposed to follow, but there's not someone regularly like saying, hey, you're out of compliance.
Okay. Anybody else have anything to say about that? Either our facilitators or anyone else? Yeah, Joanne, go ahead.
I was just typing it, but apparently I can talk a lot faster.
Yeah.
So we have complete control over adding and removing things from the website, but we are, heavily watched and overseen. And there are specific requirements so that you don't put a picture in with not having the text and whatnot. So
Right.
it's built into the web system itself.
Okay. Ashley, question, comment.
First of all, thank you all for this. My question is, my current institution and my previous institution, I ran into this, and I'm curious who else is maybe fighting this battle, but the difference between your external public-facing website and an internal website. So it looked to me for all three of the presenters today, like the information and the websites you were sharing were fully external facing, like a prospective student or random member of the public could see that information and your internal folks could see that. Did I infer that correctly? Okay. So maybe the three of you all are not the right ones to answer my question, but what I run into often is this idea that there should be different bits of information that those two populations are meant to access, and like that blend of what goes where. And so I don't know if there's a question in there or not, but just I'd appreciate hearing from other folks that have had to navigate that balance and how you've done so.
Yeah, I can chime in because that's the way ours was set up until 2 years ago.
Okay.
We had an internal site that you had to basically log into to get into, and then we had the external public-facing site. And my
Right.
frustration was that at that point, I did have control over the internal site.
Yeah.
I had no control over the external site. The external site was virtually worthless,
Yeah.
and the internal site is where all of our content was. And
Yep.
so I became really frustrated and went to administration and said, look, this is crazy. We're doing all this great stuff. I would go to a CUR meeting and talk about it, and people were like, oh, let's see what you're doing. And it's like, I can't show them
Exactly.
because it's basically behind a paywall. And so convinced them 2 years ago, along with a lot of other offices, to drop that. And now we just have one website that everyone has access to. But it
Interesting.
was a pretty heavy lift to get there. I've got to say.
Yeah, it seems that there's this real push right now to have them super split, which I don't, I mean,
Yeah.
I can kind of understand, but don't fully understand. Okay.
Well, I mean, the case that I made, and this is the one that they really ran with, was, we want to sort of brag about what
Yeah,
we're doing, and we can't
exactly.
do that. I couldn't even show it to a prospective student who wasn't already an enrolled student. That was just
Exactly.
nuts.
No, it is. It's
And
wild.
so, made that case, and they made the change. Um, Heather asks about functionality on mobile devices. Is that a consideration that you've taken when you construct your websites? Any of the three winners want to say
Well,
anything
for us,
about that?
I put it in the chat. For us, it's
Oh, I'm
built
sorry.
into the platform. So I did just look on my phone. So the way they keep redesigning the platform just to make sure that it manages all kinds of devices, because students, of course, don't use computers anymore.
Right. And Marie says the functionality is pretty good, but when it comes to things like those tables, it probably has a hard time, for example, on a phone, I imagine.
Yeah, the Airtables, they have a mobile design, so when you're on a mobile phone, it will recognize that, so it pops up a little different. So it's not quite as useful. But otherwise, our website pops up on the phones pretty well. And as I said in my comment, there are a lot of staff and students who will regularly look at the website on the phone, and so can alert us to issues like, hey, this isn't showing correctly. And then we can go in and fix it. And sometimes it's just a matter of ratios. So just basic tables, not air tables, but basic tables or images. If you're not putting them at 100%, this is kind of getting a nitty gritty of HTML. But then they don't get formatted correctly on the phone because they're formatting to a different metric.
Right. Other questions or comments? So I've got a question for just everyone who's on the screen. One of my big frustrations is that our website has everything on it. That is really, I mean, UC San Diego calls the office of the hub. That really is our hub. I mean, everything is on there, applications, all the information about our programs, et cetera, et cetera. And I think we've done a fairly decent job of organizing it well so that it's navigable. And that was one of the things that we were concerned about with evaluating the websites for the competition, is how navigable they were. Nonetheless, I run into students and faculty who say, I don't know where that is, or I couldn't find it, or, very frustrating when it comes to people actually using the resources that you post. How do you get around that? Because all three of the institutions who were awarded the prizes, you've got a lot of information up there, a lot of really good information, but it is a lot. Do you find that people are accessing it and making use of it, or do you not know? I mean, how do you assess that?
I'll start if anyone wants. That I had mentioned earlier that there's a lot of information, which is why nesting kind of keeps from overwhelming at once. But it's more of a culture that it doesn't matter what you do to your website. I had a student who emailed me and said, can you tell me if X information is on the syllabus? Well, all she had to do was look on the syllabus to see if X information was there.
Right.
They're not used to having to look. It's just easier to ask.
Yeah.
And so, I suggest we not beat ourselves up, but the fact that it's there is kind of our security when someone says, I didn't know. Well, yeah, it's all there. So I think you're right. People just aren't going to look. It's easier to ask.
Yeah. I'm going to come back to Sarah's question in the chat in just 1 second and go to Kirsten and then David. Kirsten?
Great, thanks. Hi, I'm here at UC San Diego as well, and I was going to put this in the chat. Having comprehensive information on our website, I find, is really helpful, because a lot of times, even if a student doesn't look at it initially on their own, I can direct the student to it. So I'll get a lot of emails from students saying, oh, I really want to get involved and do research. How would I find a research mentor? And so what I've taken to do is direct the student to the specific portion of our website and say, here's our website. There's a portion that's specifically about finding a research mentor. Go ahead and look through that, and then you and I can meet and talk more about it. So it gives the student the chance to do a little bit of background information before we meet, so that our meeting time is more efficient and more focused on their specific questions. So I agree. I believe it was Joanne who said a lot of times the students don't go to the website or don't read it on their own, but it has been really useful to direct them to it and say, go ahead and look through this, and then let's talk.
Yeah, I have one of those T-shirts that says it's on the syllabus. We should probably have them made for us that say it's on the website. David, did you have a comment?
Well, just a bit, and also from UC San Diego. So I might say to you what we say to students while look at the site. We have kind of a saying that anything a student needs to find out about the office and its programs the student should be able to find about 70% of the answers on the site, and 20% from talking to anybody in the office. We should all know each other's programs and activities. And then 10% for the really specific questions about a specific program or opportunity. And I think Kirsten just said gave a really nice example of how to use the process, but I would also say that we could use it in reverse, that before a student comes to meet with the staff member at the first time, the site should be really informing the students so that when they do meet, the time is used very well. And if you were to look at the staff button on our site, you'd see that most of the staff members have links where you can make appointments with them directly. So we really encourage people to use the site to find us if that's what's necessary. We really like having the site drive people to the office or to a one-on-one Zoom meeting. So I think it works very well that way. And also, since we really encourage students to consider doing multiple research programs, we have a number of students who become really skilled at using the site themselves, and they find, what would be the best summer programs for them because they've had the experience of being in one of the earlier programs, or maybe they find a program off campus. So I think we also tried, Marie did a really great job of this, of showing how the site could be progressive, as the students go from one activity to another and grow as researchers. So we tried to mimic that in the way the site's designed.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah, and I imagine a lot of our offices have student ambassadors, and a lot of the times I will send a student to meet with one of my ambassadors to kind of go through the website. The ambassadors are really skilled at what's up there. I want to go back to Sarah's question about NSF REUs, and if that's the target audience who are potential visiting students, so not students at your institution, home students, where do you put that kind of content and information? And anyone who does that can sort of respond.
I can respond to that. I'm from Washington State University, so we do have an undergraduate research program site that's just dedicated to our own students. We have a separate summer research website that is mostly dedicated to REUs, and thus it's externally facing students who want to come visit and do work at Washington State University. We do have a section on that site for our own students who might be interested in doing summer research at WSU. But honestly, the biggest draw for that site is the RU programs, and we still have plenty of content on the main website for current students. So we kind of have two domains to try to filter the different audiences.
Great, thank you. Anyone else want to chime in on what they do with REUs as far as separating it from their usual site? Sophia?
Hi. So I'm UC San Diego as well.
We
I
don't
don't
have
want to
enough
dominate the
people on from UC San
conversation.
Diego. Can we get some more?
Yeah, we shared it with our staff. So with us, it's part of the Airtable that you saw earlier because we don't want to try to distinguish NSF from everything else. We just want the students to be able to find whatever they want to find in one place. So we list all our REUs along with every single other program that we are aware of. We're not always familiar with the new initiatives that a faculty may start up, but we do try to add them as we find out or if they tell us about it. So as best as we can, we put them onto our site under Airtable.
Great, thank you. We had a question about job postings like Handshake, and whether or not you have links directly to that on your website. San Diego again says, you have links on that. That's part of the Find a Mentor section. We use Handshake on campus, but that is run through our career planning services, whatever they're calling themselves this week. And so we don't have anything to do with that. In fact, we don't post our research positions there. We got an exemption to do that because the programs at my institution, the way we got them set up, the students have to choose a mentor before they apply. So they're not just applying for an open-ended position. Anyone else want to say something about dealing with jobs and maybe external jobs? Do you post anything about external opportunities for jobs/internships that are research-based? Deafening silence. I feel like I'm in class.
One thing I can say about us is that usually I'll keep a running list of all of the RUs and research internships that come across our desk, and share that via social media, via our newsletter, so students can access it that way. And then also on the RU point, we have, I believe, 2 different NSF RUs here at FAU, and those each have their own specific web pages that are designed by the people who are running the RU. So we'll share that, but we don't have anything to do with as far as the actual,
Right.
you know.
So a lot of folks saying that they share them through social media, through newsletters. I know I post those kinds of opportunities. Could we use Forager One? And there's a place to post opportunities there. Joanne mentioned that you use the website as an archive. So the programs for your symposiums, journal issues, newsletters, et cetera, are archived there. And we do use that as well here at CNU for some things. We have our journal is archived, and our summer scholars participants, things like that.
It just helps keep a record, and it helps
Yeah.
prospective students see sort of this history of what we do. And, you know, the way you get students to look at anything is put them on it. You know?
Yeah.
If their name and face is there,
Yeah,
then they'll send their family, they'll send their friends.
to be sure. And I think that that's one thing that we haven't talked about a little bit here is dealing with is having the website be a draw for prospective students. So students who are looking to attend your university who haven't chosen it yet, and are looking perhaps for, a university that's strong in undergraduate research, they're probably going to hit your site and they want to see what are you offering. And having not only the opportunities up there, but as Joanne says, an archive of what people have done in the past, so you have a track record, can be a really strong recruiting tool. I know that's the way that I've been using ours, and it has panned out. I mean, I have increasing numbers of students who say they chose CNU because of the research. So
Yeah,
fantastic.
if I could just add on
Yeah,
to that
David.
quickly. I mean, I think you noticed when Marie was showing our site, we have a large banner, and most the pictures on the banner are of students who've been involved with research. And I think, highlighting those students, and we have a tab that links to even more student profiles, is really an advertisement for students here and prospective students about ways to get involved with research. In fact, all of those students are interviewed, and one of the questions is usually, how did you get involved with research? What was it, that made you think you could do this? And those are the kinds of discussions that prospective students, again, whether they're here already or whether they're thinking about transferring here or coming in as a first-time student, those are the examples that I think make it easy for students to see themselves in these positions.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Kirsten asks for Joanne, you mentioned using Airtable for most of your forms. What sort of forms do you use it for? Are those for applications?
For applications, so we use it for our summer symposium, abstracts, etc. We use it for, we have a freshman program called Research Rookies, and in order to keep track of the people who are signing up, and then there are schedules of events and who shows up to those. We use it for our registry. We use it for our grants. We use it for we use it for everything. We've only been using Airtable for about a year and a half now. One of the advantages to Airtable over something like Excel is when we used all these forms in Excel, you had to download the information from what came in on Excel, add it to your database, and then every time you wanted to look at it, you had to open it up again. Whereas Airtable is a running database. So as soon as the information is filled out on the form, it feeds into Airtable. And so you can see this very active and dynamic changing database.
I
The
feel
only
like
thing is
Casey
it's
Kasem.
deletable.
Margaret asks, how does Airtable compare with Qualtrics for application forms?
It's not as sophisticated as Qualtrics. And so I do have one or two when I really need to pivot the tables and sort them out, I will do a Qualtrics form. So I have 3 summer research programs that come all in on one major application. I will still do that on Qualtrics because it's much easier to pivot it out, organize it, and then send it out to the respective summer programs.
And I think Marie mentioned that they're freeloading on Airtables and using the free version. Is that correct?
Correct.
Joanne, are you using the free version or pay version?
I'm freeloading on someone using the paid version.
Oh, okay. We won't tell anybody. Other questions or comments? Well, I am going to wind us down here and give you back a few minutes of your life. Thanks for participating in today's URP Exchange. Sincere thanks to our terrific facilitators. Thank you so much, and congratulations on winning our first round of competition last year. Thanks to CUR and especially Todd Wagner for his tech support. We're going to be taking December off, and our next exchange will be in January when we're going to discuss best practices in undergraduate research journals. We'll post the information with a link to the CUR community soon, and I hope you will join us again then. Enjoy the rest of your day and your semester, and happy holidays, and we'll see you in January.